Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people all over the world, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to Daptime. I am AJ, also known as B-Dub, Bobby Westbrook, and I'm here alongside my partner in crime, Big Dame, my baby brother. And together we are going to have a conversation with you, hoping to make you laugh, learn a little something, and most of all, live your life a little better. So with that, unwind your spine, activate your mind. It is time for us to jump on into Dap time. Let's get it. What up, Big Dame?
What's going on, bro? How you doing, man?
Oh man, I am doing good. I'm good.
Likewise, likewise.
Happy to be back here with you once again.
Oh man, always a beautiful occasion. Always.
Always. What's the latest and the greatest, my brother?
Man, just living life, man, trying to adjust to this new corona-ish way of living
Okay.
and trying to figure that out, how that looks and how that works. And that's pretty much been it. I mean, what about yourself?
Same, man. Just adjusting to yet another week of being indoors primarily, and I'm not getting a steady diet of the news. I'm avoiding the news as much as possible. I mean, I definitely peak to get the highlights, but I'm trying to thrive under these conditions. So,
Right.
aside from a little bad weather we had out here in California the last few days, everything has been lovely. I've been tripping because people, I'm talking to different people, and they're talking about things that I haven't heard of in years, man. I mean, a couple friends of mine were talking about, oh yeah, we've been sitting at the house playing Uno.
Right.
Like Uno. What? Draw four?
Right,
Okay.
right.
So I think people find different ways to make the most of the time, but we're good, man.
Yeah, man. I played Trouble the other night, man. I ain't played Trouble since I was like 12 years old, I think, maybe 10.
That's the one with
the one. That's the one right there. Yep.
Here's the question though: did you win?
I won one and I lost one, but it brought out the competitive juices, man. It was crazy. So I'm playing with my 10-year-old daughter, and I'm really going at her. Like I was coming for her head, and she came back for mine. So it was good. It was good. Iron sharpens iron. That's how I looked at it.
I see. Yeah, I got a couple of trouble masters over there,
yeah, man.
I'll be prepared for the family gathering.
Hey, Connect 4, it doesn't matter, whatever.
I know the juices are in the genes, so I'm not worried about it. Believe me, I will bring my A game.
Oh, for sure.
What is going on in the news this week that you want to rap about, brother?
Man, I was looking at a couple. I'm like you. I don't look at too much news anymore. I never really was big on the news other than the weather and basic events, but I don't do too much of the news. But I watch a little bit. I still watch Sports Center like I'm going to see some highlights.
Right.
I mean, that's my favorite. Sports Center is my favorite show, so I still watch that like I'm going to see the highlights from tonight's game or what have you. But the draft is coming up. That's a big thing. I catch, I'm able to catch a lot of that stuff. And the funny thing about the draft this year is I noticed that it's going to be virtual, because of this. Again, we're adjusting. So because of this, this pandemic, there's no meeting at a big venue and, which kind of sucks for some of the rookies. I mean, they don't get that chance to go up there and walk up and get the hat, take the picture and that whole thing. But so I thought that was kind of interesting.
So, what's interesting to me about the draft being remote is really the war room experience, right? Because there's all the different elements that go behind that, right? You got the person that, you have to have your board in front of you and conversations that are going on around the room, somebody making a call, make sure you got your player that you want on the line, deals that are being made. So I think it's going to be interesting. I saw one of the stories, I think it was, it might have been First Take or Get Up. One of them, they had somebody on talk. Oh, it was Louis Riddick, and he was saying, the challenge is going to be around networks. So if somebody's Wi-Fi is sketchy, and you can't get information out quick enough, or you drop signals or whatever, that could be a problem.
Right.
If you're trying to get a deal done before your player goes off the board or whatever. So I'm with you. I think it's going to be worth watching because it'll be interesting. to see not only who's taking where, but how it is executed. The logistics come together.
Yeah, and I think another point I saw brought up, and I can't remember where I saw this at, but Harbaugh from Baltimore, one of his concerns
Hmm.
was security. Network security.
Hmm.
We've had Spygate, we've had incidences of cheating. You know, so I mean, who's to say somebody's not trying to tap in and get the info, and they got your playbook. If they can get in your network, they got your playbook, they got your draft choice, they got everything. So it's going to be interesting to see, man. A lot of stuff could happen. Much different game.
I think I think the IT is going to make their money
They,
on that day.
they better.
Everybody's IT department gets a bonus.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. Definitely. And then we got another thing. The UFC. I don't know. Are you a big UFC fan?
So I'm growing in it, and actually I have a bit of a weird interest in the UFC. Like I got pulled into it because I caught a UFC fight with the women, and it was weird. Like it was kind of late night, and I'm flipping channels. It was on Showtime, and I saw a smallish woman. I can't remember her name now, going against a woman who was clearly bigger. Like let's say the one fighter was 5'2", the other
Mhm.
one was like 5'9", and at first I was like, I know these women aren't about to really get it in. And they got it in. And there was a no joke situation jumping off in the ring. Right. And so I got sucked in that way. And little by little, I paid attention here and there, more than I had.
Gotcha.
But what's going on in the news with them?
Well, I mean, there's nothing on. There's no sports at all whatsoever. So
Right.
Dana White apparently is he has a UFC event scheduled for the 18th of April, which
Oh,
I believe is about 10 days, about a week and a half from now or so. Um,
wow.
and he's planning on moving forward. He's planning on moving forward. He he was quoted as saying he had an island. He has an island somewhere that he's secured. I don't know where the island is. I don't know if it's a deserted island. I don't know if it's Gilligan and them are there. I don't know, but but so he's got an island, and the plan apparently is he's found a way to secure enough COVID-19 tests for the few people that'll be there. So there'll be, of course, no fans. I mean, I guess if you got 5 fights, you basically have 10 people, 10 combatants, and then a referee or two.
Mm,
So you're talking about 12 people,
hmm.
but then you got their trainers. I mean, I could see that easily turning it into 30 people or so, maybe even 40. You know what I mean? If you keep it scaled
Right.
down, because you got their camps, you've got timekeepers, judges, all that type of thing. So, but yeah, that's his plan, and it's just to test everybody before they go in. You go in and you have the event, and then you send them back home. So, you know,
Man.
yeah, yeah, I think it's kind of interesting to see how that'll play out. I think there's mixed emotions on that one.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see. I was just thinking this the other day. He may be the pilot for how we see professional sports for the going forward. And
Right.
honestly, bro, I see an opportunity in the cable industry. Um, I don't know that they'll. You're dealing with a pay per event type situation,
Hmm.
um, in the way that we've seen it before. But I definitely can see that there may be less people allowed to go to a sporting event,
Hmm.
just by the sheer nature of things. I heard a report that they were talking about maybe when basketball returns, having people, only having seats like every 6 to 10 feet apart.
Hmm.
So, by the sheer nature of things, you are cutting down the number of people that can be in the arena, but you also are impacting the feel of the event, right? The live event
Right.
will change dramatically. So if that's going to extend out, I could see them going to something and say, hey, look, we can create a dramatic HD event that we can then broadcast. And if people want it, you know, you're paying for it in your crib. I could see that happening, right? Because people are going to want to get their money back that they've lost. Um, and they're going to look for a way to do that. And the fans, want to see live events, and the players want to play. So, he made the UFC might end up being the pilot, and that might be something that goes forward. I know boxing is another sport where they've talked about doing stuff like that. So I would tune in. Is it going to be pay-per-view? Do you know?
I'm sure it will. I mean, his events usually are pay-per-view anyway. So I'm sure. I mean, kind of like I think they just had WrestleMania. I didn't watch it, but it was last Sunday, I think. And they went ahead with the event, and it was no fans, no audience, just the just the athletes. So I mean, it's been done, and you may be onto something. This may be part of that adjustment. This may be a new model. I personally hope we can get back to life as we knew it, as far as that goes, because it's nothing like it's nothing like sitting at a game, being there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think the players feed off of that, and the fans feed off of that, and it creates something. So we'll see.
Hey man, I'm gonna tell you, you're touching on something. One of my greatest sports moments live, right? And I want to say it's the 2012, 2013 Warrior season. So mind you, diehard Warrior fan, right? First autograph I ever received in life was from Clifford Ray in Eastmont Mall in Oakland as a little boy. So I've loved my Warriors through horrific times, right? And I won't bash the ownership today. Original owner back in the day, Franklin Muley, awesome owner. Cohen, not so much. So, it was a little bitter. We were losing. 2012-13 season, we're playing the Mavericks. I'm a season ticket holder at the time. And Loth and I are at the game, right? And man, Baron Davis comes down and goes up and gives the bop. I want to say it was Kirilenko that he bopped on. Oh.
I remember that. 12-13, that was when the Warriors were 8th seed, correct?
Right.
And Mavericks were 1, and they knocked the Mavericks off that year, didn't they?
Exactly.
Mark Jackson, I think was okay.
But here's the crazy part, and this is why I say it's one of the greatest sports moments that I ever saw live. Because usually, I've caught a piece of a moment. You know what I mean? Like you might catch the finish, or you might catch, lead up to it or something. But I was present for that whole moment, like visually. Like the fans were standing up and we're watching the play develop, and Warriors on defense, and then you see the transition, and then as it's happening, it was like being on a playground. It's like, I know he's not about to. Oh my God, and to be there with my childhood friend. Los jumps up, he grabs me, the fans around us were going nuts. That was an epic moment. So to your point, there is nothing like being at a live sporting event, especially if it's your team.
Oh yeah. I agree, man. I agree.
So, with that, man, I think, we should, let's jump on into what the feature segment will be for this week. I know, it's Easter, right? Easter week. Right. And Easter was always kind of one, it was twofold, right? You got the spiritual religious piece of it, right? The significance and symbolism of the season. But it also was like this financial, fashionable aspect to it. Like what's going to be your Easter outfit? Moms and pops, going to take you shopping to get your Easter suit or Easter dress and shoes, going to be fresh, all of that, right? I mean, it was also a relationship element because usually, especially as a kid, whether it's at, my house or we're going to somebody's house, you're doing eggs and Easter egg hunts and all those other things, right? It was one of those, it is one of those seasons that it touches people outside of your immediate circle as well. It's like a common bond. So it is both relational, financial, and religious. It has all those pieces tied in there. But because of this year, everybody's isolated. So it's different, right? So I'm curious, just want to throw it out to you. As you guys are going into Easter week there, what are your thoughts? How's it impacting your family? What are you hearing, seeing with people you're talking to?
Well, it's funny because going back to like Easter memories as a child, and I just had this conversation the other day. one one of my funnest memories as a little kid, I remember, of course, I'm Christian, grew up Christian, um, and that's what I identify as. Um, but growing up, our church is like in the downtown section of our city, and there's a lot of other little churches kind of near the same area, same community. And one of the things we would do on Palm Sunday, there would be like a little, I guess, parade of church. Not a really, yeah, a little march, I guess you could say. And we get little palm, the little palm leaves. How they
Hmm.
make a little cross with the palm leaves, and you pin them on your lapel or your shirt or your sweater or whatever you have, your little polo or whatever. And we'd go out there and march with along with all these other churches, but we would run into kids at the other churches that we knew. We either went to school with them or we just knew them from being around. And then there's the kids in our church, so all your friends and stuff. So it was just really cool, and I guess, yeah, a sense of community. You know what I mean? It was a really fun thing to do. And then that was Palm Sunday, and then of course on Easter you would have a sunrise service. Like early, like 6 o'clock Sunday morning, and then there would be a breakfast afterwards, and then
Hmm.
and then everybody would most people would just kind of hang out for a little while until the main service. So you'd be at church like all morning, and you know
Right.
but in that time in between, breakfast and in between. Now I'm like most kids, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't a big fan, I wasn't a big fan of church. When I was little, I wanted to play.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But there was like that all that
Hmm.
time where it was just like this camaraderie, with all your friends. So when I think back on it, it was some really great memories. Um,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
now, talking about these days and times that we're living in now, that's not going to happen for
Right.
for kids today. They're not going to make that memory this Sunday. You know what I mean? Don't
Hmm.
know what's going to happen in the future, but this Sunday they're not going to make that memory because you can't get together. So, um, what I do think is very important for us being the people of our faith is to. I think it's kind of a good thing. It's an opportunity to
Right.
remember what this is really all about for us. So, as a person of Christian faith, this day is not really about eggs and a bunny and, and all that kind of stuff. It's about a risen savior. So I think it's an opportunity for us to, one, uh kind of humble ourselves and remember, get away from the pomp and circumstance and the grandiose of everything, and remember what it really is. And also for our children, yeah, they might not make those memories that I just talked about, but maybe it's an opportunity to kind of instill in them or further instill in them what this really is, why we do this, why we believe what we believe. So for me, that's kind of how I'm approaching it. Um, I know my family and I, we're gonna do we're just gonna have some prayer Sunday
Wow. Okay.
Sunday morning. I think because for me, again, and I respect everybody's path and everybody's view, um, because that's your view and you have that right.
Hmm.
But for me, at being where I am, I feel like it would be a disservice to my Savior to not to just kind of mail it in. You know what I mean? To just kind of say, well, can't go to church this Easter, so I guess Easter's canceled. What? That's it. So the virus wins. You know what I mean? Like I can't do that. So so yeah, and I've even talked about it with my daughter. She's 10, and she's excited about it, which I thought was really cool. Uh, because at 10 years old, I was not excited about going to church. I'm just gonna be honest with you. But
Hmm.
but yeah, so we're gonna get up and have prayer and just kind of be thankful for what it is, and that's gonna be our day. That'll be our day.
I think that's dope, man. I mean, it's funny to me because I saw, I believe it was on Vice this week, a report that going into this week globally. I mean, you have traditions across so many different faiths. I mean, even Jewish Passover's coming, right? So you
Mhm,
have a
mhm,
lot of different things going on during the season. But they were looking at Palm Sunday and how traditionally, within the Catholic faith, you've got people. globally, like flocking to their local parishes. And, in some cases, there were there have been, like, for centuries, productions that go on,
Hmm.
for Palm Sunday. They were going to go all out, some more elaborate than others. I know within, um, you know, traditional, um, black churches, I know growing up, I've seen a little bit of everything.
Right.
Everything from a real live donkey, and
Right.
someone playing the role of Jesus, coming down the aisle, to, churches kind of creating some interpretation of that. So what they were saying was that this, Palm Sunday was impacting people. And so you had priests going around to homes and passing out palms to people through their windows and over their balconies, and leaving it at their doors, and things like that, to still let people uh, exercise their faith, right,
Hmm.
and have that experience. And I think the story was really kind of talking about the lead up to, this Easter is going to be very different, because of people not being able to actually go to church and have their the traditions. I think the interesting thing about Easter in particular, right, is what it means within the faith, right? And I don't disparage anybody. I don't disparage anyone for what they believe,
Right.
and respect their beliefs and ideologies. I just know what my life has consisted of, right? And my experience is wrapped up in. And the symbolism of this weekend, particularly timed with this season, is special in
Hmm.
some way, right? Because, to me, the symbolism of Easter, we throw away, Canterbury eggs and chocolate and all that other stuff, and the fancy outfits, and the dinners that go on after church. If you throw away all of that and you strip it down, the symbolism that God loved us enough to provide us with His most precious gift, and allow His precious gift to be a sacrifice to redeem us, to create a pathway, a connection, so that at times like these, when some people haven't prayed since they were in church as kids,
Right.
some people maybe never, right? But because of the sacrifice, when we call out on Him, He hears us. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the symbolism of this week, that this is a time set aside to acknowledge that sacrifice and to recognize that gift and to express gratitude, um, is one thing that's significant. The second part that's significant to me is that because people are isolated, we're almost forced to make that extremely personal and get rid of the noise. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
if I remember as a kid, you show up, you'd had uh, everybody looking at what the first thing, like, let me see your Easter outfit. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you
Right.
had the influence and perceptions of others as part of the backdrop of your Easter celebration,
Hmm.
right? And there's nothing wrong with collectively doing that with other people. But I think what gets lost sometimes in congregational services is how personal God's love is. My faith, what I believe,
Right.
right? And I think because of the nature of the circumstances here, just like you were saying, it's you, your daughter, your family, your celebration. That's going to be real personal, right? That's me and God, not we and God kind of
Right.
thing. Even though it is it in that moment, and I think it creates an almost a deeper and perhaps even more powerful
Mm.
expression of gratitude. So whatever someone else in their home may do it a little different than I do it in my home, but it's still going to be gratitude.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think it's interesting because we're talking about Easter, and kind of how it affect and relationships, like how that's affecting the relationships of people. As we're used to coming together at this time. We're used to doing a corporate thing at this time, a corporate celebration, if you will. Um, and so we're kind of initially I was looking at it kind of like how is that relationship, how are those relationships affected? As you were talking, as it started registering, maybe it's more about how it's affecting the relationship with him, you know, and
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
to your point, yes, it's stronger, but a lot of times, maybe I think because of all the pomp and circumstance, we're able to forget that at the end of the day, it is a relationship. If you have a relationship with someone, your friend, somebody you're dating, whatever the case may be, and you shower her with all these gifts and everything is great, and you got the Bentley and you got the house and you got everything going on, that's great. And they love you. But if you strip all those things away, do they still love you? You know what I mean? So now everything's the eggs, the bunnies, you know, which really doesn't have anything to do with Easter, with the real meaning of what this resurrection day is about. But I get it. But you take all that away,
Hmm.
you take the big hats away, which I'm kind of mad about because I kind of dig seeing, what kind of big hats somebody's going to have on. And something else I always look forward to on Easter is seeing who's going to come in with the purple suit. I don't know what church, somebody's going to wear a purple suit on Easter. You know what I mean?
Inevitably,
Matching
there will be
shoes.
purple gators in the building.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to miss that. But you take all those things away and what do you do? You know what I mean? What do you do? What do you have? If you say you have
Well,
nothing, then,
and
you know,
well, I want let me say this to you because I think it's fair, right? I mean, I recognize everybody, and I definitely am one where the conversation is intended to be inclusive.
sure,
But
sure.
there's going to be inevitably somebody who's like, "Oh man, Easter, you don't even know, Easter ain't about Jesus. Didn't start that way."
Mhm.
Listen, I understand that it started as a pagan holiday simply to celebrate spring
Right.
and the newness of things. Um, and along the way got shifted, and where some might say Christians hijacked it and they made it all about their Christ. At the end of the day, the rebirth, the story of Christ's resurrection is about the ultimate newness of things, right? So, you know, I think that when you talk about those relationships, we're going to miss some of those things. I
Mhm.
think where people have to plug in is, you know, you use these new mediums that we have to find that connection and ultimately celebrate all of that. And for those whom it really is just about celebrating the rebirth of harvest, the rebirth of plants, what we've talked about thus far is still applicable.
Mhm.
Because if you look around right now, under this corona situation, there's more of a reason to be grateful for that this spring than there was last spring. The air quality is better than
Mhm.
it's been because people aren't running around driving like they were.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
if you look at certain other things there's in nature are happening in the last few weeks, animals resurfacing. It's a true spring for them. So whatever you're celebrating in your world, it may not be the same thing I'm celebrating or Dame is celebrating, but it still applies, right? And you got to say thank you to someone, and I'm saying thank you to God
Right.
for it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And that, and me, when I speak, I just have to speak from my perspective because that's what I know.
Right.
So I don't say that to begrudge anybody else. Um, a matter of fact, a good friend of mine, um, actually, our daughters run track together. And so every summer, well, coming into the summer, we take the girls to a meet. Um, we go out of town, do a little AAU meet, and it ends up falling right around Ramadan time,
Mm-hmm.
and he's Muslim, and good buddy of mine, and so so we go, and we pack all this fruit and everything like that, and all these healthy snacks for the kids, and some stuff for us and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get out there, and I forget, and I always end up offering him some food, and he's not eating, and sometimes his son will come with him, and his son doesn't is participating in the fast. So but it's like, but I respect that, because it
Mm-hmm.
goes back to what I was saying, okay, I got a track meet, I got this going on, but I still, my allegiance and my onus is to this. So even still, even though I'm on the road, even though it would be very convenient to, do that later, you know, I have to stick to what I have to stand on what I stand on. And I respect that. So,
Right.
so I say that to say, me speaking from the perspective that I speak, that's just me standing on what I stand on. You know what I mean? And I feel like
Absolutely.
anybody, any principled man, or woman, can respect that, as I can, in another. So, yeah,
Listen, man, I think that you hit the nail on the head, right? I mean, nothing that I'm not of the school either that what I believe should necessarily alienate, right? I'm
right.
about facilitating conversation, and the second part, which you talked about with Easter, is relationships, right? I mean, so we don't have to believe the same things exactly. Um, to have relationship. I don't in order for me to respect you, I don't need you to believe everything I believe the way I believe it. In order
Right.
for me to regard you as someone worthy of fair treatment, equal conversation, to laugh with you, to enjoy your company, we don't have to agree on all things, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I can respect those things that are really principled, heavy in my value set that are different, right? And I think you're hitting the nail on the head. If your faith calls for you to do something that is part of you acknowledging what is the foundation of your life, like Ramadan, that's a major. Yeah, but what am I doing having a fit about that?
Right.
You know, and I'm not going to do anything to disrespect you or your faith at that time. I'm gonna invite you over to a cookout, and I'm I'm serving ribs and everything else under the sun. Hey man, we throwing some stuff on the grill on
Yeah.
Friday. Oh, y'all having Ramadan, but
We got
come
some
on through.
we got some pork butt over here, don't mind
You
the
know,
smell,
oh man, everything will be ready by one, by one. I'm not doing that to you,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, and so I think there's room for that. I think it is about in part relationships, right? And the other thing is that people are saving money this year. You're not distracted, and
Right.
I think there's something special about that, right? Like I feel like in some ways this could be a really really a dope Easter for people
I agree.
if you recognize how personal it can be.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And you don't have those distractions. I remember, man, people running around trying to cop a fit Saturday afternoon. Man, the layaway stories on Easter were crazy.
Right.
Parents running out, dropping, what little they can to put something on layaway, to get something off layaway, all that kind of stuff, to be fresh, you know. I think moms, and this is a great time for an announcement and break. I owe moms an apology. She jacked me
Huh?
because in our last episode, I said didn't have an entrepreneurial example in the house, and she wanted me to
Oh,
know her side hustle was entrepreneurial. She had many businesses on the side. I did tell her I was distinguishing between, entrepreneurship as I know it formally and a
okay.
side hustle, but mom wasn't having none of that. None of it at all. Jacked me
Yeah.
for my money.
Yeah. I know
But
mom's.
one of
I know mom's
one of the reasons that
was
I'm
she wasn't too
I'm
relentless
noting
on you,
that
was she?
is her side business was making hats at one point.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So the Easter hat business was for real, a for real thing. Mom was doing the hats. She had a hat lady that supplied the main hat, and mom would do them up with her little extras,
Right on.
and she was pushing them out. So
Like I
I'm gonna
said,
miss that.
one of my favorite parts of the season is seeing the big hats come out. So I appreciate moms. Moms, we appreciate you and all the work you did. Let me just say that for the record.
Thank you. See, I see you trying to stay out of trouble
Hey man, I
and just
love
let me
moms,
stay in the
man.
middle of the boat.
I love moms.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you were throwing. I mean, one of those big ones out there this week for our Mama Always Says segment.
Mhm.
And since we've touched on moms, this might be a dope time to drop into that. Mama always said, I'm curious about this one because this was a juicy one that you threw.
Yeah.
What was your mom always said?
So it's crucial, man. This is the one. So there was a lot of sayings that I didn't get until I got a little older, a little more
Hmm.
mature, a little more seasoned, to really understand what was being said to me. Um,
Hmm.
this is one of those ones that at the time I didn't get it at all. Um, and this one is I know everybody's heard this one. If you haven't heard it, I don't know what to tell you. But it's this one here. If you don't stop that crying, I'm gonna give you something to cry about. And you tell me you have never heard it. Everybody's heard that one. Now, this is why I didn't understand it. Because it usually came after I had already been given something to cry about.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Why am I crying in the first place?
Right. You're not making any
There's
sense.
more.
Like I got some words for you, but I don't want nothing to cry about. So I'm gonna stop. But yeah, so I mean that's a crucial mama saying, I think.
I like that one. I like that one. Um, I somebody I think we use this segment certainly to give dap to somebody for
Yeah.
like, hey, you recognizing that, and we definitely give no dap to somebody who is looking for whatever that more was, the moms was talking about.
Right.
And so I think when it comes to giving dap, one of the first people that comes to mind is your man Derrick Henry down in Tennessee,
Hmm.
right? I saw probably a couple weeks ago he signed his franchise tender,
Hmm.
right? And there was something about it that just struck a chord with me because here's a cat that he's coming off of a amazing season. He's still young,
Hmm.
right? I think he was a league rushing leader. So most people, it's like, hey, I'm cashing in right now.
Hmm.
I'm going to get that big contract, and I think for his franchise tender, that's 10 million, a little bit more than 10 million for this upcoming season,
Hmm.
right? So here's where it struck a chord with me because um, he could have said, "I'm going to hold out, and I'm not going to sign that because I know I'm worth, at least a guaranteed contract of 30 plus million
Hmm.
for the next couple of years. Probably a long-term deal that maybe has a number like 65, 70 million with 35 to 37 guaranteed. And he could say, I'm going to hold out for that. He
Hmm.
could argue that and go the road of other backs who've done it, right? Because I think Le'Veon's his deal was like that, 50 and change with maybe 30, 35 guaranteed.
Right.
So Derrick Henry could have stayed there crying about the money because he feels he deserves it.
Hmm.
But instead, he says, no, I'm not going to cry about it. I'm going to take this 10 because that guarantees me that I'm getting that 10,
Hmm.
right? And the team came out and said immediately, the team spokesperson came
Hmm.
out and said, we are continuing to work with Derrick on a long-term contract.
Hmm.
So here's a cat. I got the 10 in the bank. That's guaranteed. If we don't get a long-term deal, I play for 1 year. I'm back on the market. I'm negotiating again the following year. But he's going to get a long-term deal. So he's probably going to get some of that money that he wanted anyway, but he's already locked up guaranteed money.
Right.
That dude gets huge dap because he took care of his family, he took care of his business. He's not in the news for being a nuisance, and he's invited the conversation about what he really wants with somebody who wants to get that done.
Oh
Right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Teammates ain't mad. Everybody's good. That is big dap for Derrick Henry.
Big dap for Derrick Henry, man. And the thing about it is, man, those deals never get done in the media anyway. So,
Right.
great job for him keeping it business and keeping it classy. There's always the other side of the coin, though. There's always that one that's just gonna cry and cry. And Mama told you, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't stop that crying, I'm gonna really give you something to cry about. And they just keep going and going and going and going until they have to find out what it is that they're going to get, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look at AB. You got Antonio Brown.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great wide receiver. Let me say that. In my mind, probably future Hall of Famer, depending on to this point, up through his tenure with Pittsburgh. In my mind, he was putting up
Right.
Hall of Fame numbers. Great wide receiver. So last year, he wants out. Him and Big Ben can't get along. He's having issues. He's had a few little issues here and there in the past with the coach and different things like that, but nothing too bad. So he turns around and he gets himself a deal with the Raiders of all teams.
A great deal, let's say.
A
A
great
great
deal
deal. The
with
money he wanted.
with a guarantee of about $35 million, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct.
Okay. Which is pretty good money, I would say. Much more than he was getting in Pittsburgh. So he locks up this deal. Now, okay, great. All you got to do is go play. But he decides to keep crying. Every day it was something new he was crying about. I'm hurt. I'm injured. By all means, if you're injured, take care of yourself. But he was hurt every day. It was something different. It was something new. I don't like the helmets. I'm going to cry about that. So eventually, guess what they did? They gave him something else to cry about, and they shipped him out of there, ended his contract, and they sent him to New England. And he didn't get anywhere near $35 million in New England guaranteed, because they don't pay nobody like that. They don't even pay Tom Brady like that. He gets to New England and he cries some more. And guess where he is now? He's at home. He didn't even finish the season. Not only that, he continued to cry.
Right.
And guess what his agent did? Cut him.
Fired him
on the spot. So, I mean, at some point, you have to understand that crying is just not doing it for you. We got to try something different, But, unfortunately, I do want to say, great wide receiver. I really hope the brother gets back on the horse and gets back in the game and gets somewhere and is able to display his talent, because he's a great talent. He really is. But for now, over here at Daptime, we can't give no dap to AB.
No dap.
None at all.
No dap.
None.
I got to tell you, man, that he is a great example, and I think AB, personally, man, my heart goes out to that cat, because I just feel like I think we could definitely do a whole different show about AB and athletes like him, because I think if you were to be able, if we were able to really dissect and get inside his whole life experience, I think we might understand better some of his actions.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's as simple as what some people have said, which is, after the Trevor, was it Burbick? No, it wasn't Burbick. Trevor Burbick was the boxer. It was the Perfect, right? In Cincinnati.
Vontez Burfict.
After his, after that hit, he wasn't the same. Well, I don't know if I could say that. I don't know enough about the science behind it to say that was it in and of itself, especially when you go back and you can find some issues in college and things like that. But I think my hope, because like you said, he has the potential to be a Hall of Fame receiver, and I would hope that he could get it right. But as it stands today, absolutely no Dap.
None.
If you don't stop that crying, they will give you something to cry about. And I think the latest, I mean, like this week, he got charged. So he hired a new agent, but he also got charged formally for that moving company incident. That was the latest thing that he had been in the news for. So I hope he gets the message and pulls it together, because we'd love to see you win, brother.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you see how the cycle works? They're still giving them something more. Stop it. Stop it. It'll keep coming. Mama was right.
Yeah, that's true. Well, with that, brother, I think we have come to the end of yet another fantastic episode. Listen, to our listeners, we hope that you've enjoyed what you've heard. Don't forget to like and or subscribe to Daptime. You can do that at our website, www.daptime.com. You can also find us on Twitter at DAP, DAP_time, TIME. And please also like and subscribe there. If you have a mama says that you think we should cover, we encourage you to submit that, subscribe at the website, submit that in. If we read that on air, we will be sure to send you a virtual DAP package. I guarantee you will like it and enjoy it. Until the next time, I am AJ B-Dub Bobby Westbrook, and this is my brother Big Dame. We'll get at you. Remember, look in the mirror. That's your competition.
Peace.